Hello and welcome. The first thing I want to do is make sure that this is the correct training for you. This training is for Kiwanis Club of Tampa members who are reviewing their scholarship applications. So if you are not a member of Kiwanis, this is not the training for you. Please give me a call at 813-574-0273 and I will get you pointed in the right direction. If you are a Kiwanian, let's move on. My name is Angie Anthony, and I am the Director of Scholarships for the Hillsborough Education Foundation. And we're going to talk about how to get those applications reviewed. So our learning objectives for today are the scholarship process. I want to talk to you a little bit about the process in general, and then reviewing an award spring, which award spring is the platform that we use for the applications and the reviewing. And then we'll talk about how to actually score those applications. A little bit about Hillsborough Education Foundation first. We have been around since the 80s. We believe that strengthening public education builds a better community. We believe that public school success is vital to our county's prosperity. And we believe that a community engaged in making educational excellence a priority will transform Hillsborough County. And you are that community. You are engaged and you are making a difference in the life of our youth and setting them on the path to success. Last year, we were able to award over 220 scholarships, ranging from $500 up to a 4-year University Florida prepaid. The total value was $645,000, and this year is looking to be right on target. So scholarship eligibility. Kiwanis offers several different scholarships. So first thing I want you to know is that the applications that you'll be looking at have already been pre-screened for the quantitative criteria. So things like a minimum GPA or the minimum community service hours. And the Pete Gilmore scholarship, that one has a specific major that's required. Those things have already been filtered. You're not going to see students with too low of a GPA that they don't even fit into the bucket of what the students are that you're looking for. They are all Hillsborough County seniors coming from public school, which includes charter and virtual. Your scholarships are open to homeschool and private school students. So let's talk a little bit about the scholarship process itself. Year-round, we are in what we call donor giving. So I get calls all throughout the year about what we're going to do and what the offerings are going to be for each year. Whoops, I'm sorry. I think I just jumped ahead. Didn't mean to do that. November 1st is when the application opened last year, and it's open through January 31st. With the review period beginning on February 7th. So this is the important line for you. February 7th, you can begin reviewing the applications, and we look to conclude by February 29th. After that, we begin to notify the students in April and early May. And then after that, the students will be claiming their funds. We give them several months to do that because they use them in different semesters, but certainly for the first year. So they do need to have their paperwork turned in to claim their funds by February 28th of 2025. And I cannot believe that I'm saying the year 2025. Moving to the next slide. So that email notification that we send to the students, we actually send them an email through AwardSpring. I trigger that, so don't worry about if you'll be triggering anything. You won't be. We email the students both to let them know that they were the awardee, but we also send them a notification if they were not selected. Then later in the year, excuse me, in by the end of May, usually we send them an award packet through the regular mail. And that explains what they need to do to claim their funds, which is three simple things. They need to obtain an enrollment verification from their college so that we actually know, yes, they are enrolled in school. We ask them to do an information release form because we do a lot of social media and press releases, and we like to use their little snippets here and there. There's no obligation to the students. And then lastly, we ask them to submit a thank you letter to the donor. And then after that, we send a check to the school. It goes directly to the school and it is applied to their tuition, books, fees, housing, and meal plans. So that's a little bit of a background, and now we're going to talk about the actual reviewing of the applications. So this portion is really about the system itself. This is your login address right here, and this is also in your guidebook. You should have received a guidebook and a rubric. If you have not, my contact information will be there again at the end of these slides, and we will get one to you. But this is the login. So if this is your first time reviewing, or if you have provided a new email address this year, not the same email address that you've used in previous years, then what you need to do is navigate to that website and then click on Forgot Password. It's going to take you through that process, and then you'll be ready to go. And the reason for this is I had to set you up in the system as a reviewer. And the only way to get that status is if you've been enrolled by me, but I can't assign passwords. That's for you. So otherwise, if your email address is the same and you have reviewed in the past, all you need to do is log in with your password that you've used in the past and you're set to go. So once you log in, this is your dashboard. This is what the screen's going to look like. And you may or may not see all of these listed. This was just a sample that I put in for purposes of grabbing some screenshots, but you can see that the different named scholarships are listed, and you can see your status percent, how far in reviewing the applications you are, and you can also see how many applicants are remaining per scholarship. So the next step is you'll be clicking on one of these. I would recommend clicking at the top. So if we were to click on that first Arthur H. Henderson Memorial Kiwanis Scholarship link, it will take us to another screen that looks like this. So it's showing us the applicants, and you'll see it shows the number. We de-identify the applications. So you really should just have numbers here. We ask them not to put their names in the essays, but sometimes they do. I'm sure you've all signed the conflict of interest by now. So if you get into a situation where maybe you do know the student and the name is in there, or you recognize enough details and that represents a conflict to you, just reach out to me and we'll get that juggled and have somebody else review that particular application. So next step is you click on one of these numbers, and then it's going to take you to a screen that looks similar to this. This is really what the bottom of an application screen will look like. You're always going to have the scorecard there on the right, where the orange bar says score 0/110. And there's also next to that, it says minimize. So you can shrink the scorecard if you need to. You will read through the application, entering your score as you go into the categories, which we're going to talk about more shortly. But you'll enter in the number of points that you're allotting per student and clicking save before you move on. You'll see that some applications may have more questions visible than others, and that's going to be based on student participation. So things like extracurricular activities, you're not going to see the question, what's to select which sports they participate in if they don't participate in sports. So sometimes there's a little bit of variation in the questions that are visible to you. So don't worry about that. There's a logical reason behind it. And then when you have finished your scoring for a student, or maybe you get interrupted, just hit save. But over on the bottom left, you can see I have the next and the previous button kind of boxed. So if you were to click on the next button, it'll take you to the next student. And that's just how the system works. And it really is that simple. So now we're going to talk about the actual scoring. How do I know what numbers to put into that scorecard? The Kiwanis Club has their own scoring rubric. It is 2 pages. The first one, as I have showing here, has the GPA ranges and associated scorecard points. Underneath that, there's the employment hours and the associated points. And then over to the right, you'll see the community hours. So there's high and lows, or I should say lows and highs to go left to right, and the associated points that go with them. This is really pretty turnkey. We have made the recommendation to WardSpring to try to figure out how we can automate this and let us put our own scale in and let the numbers do their magic. But they haven't done it yet, but we're hopeful for the future. These are the very qualitative categories. So you can see we have the extracurricular activities and leadership. If you have reviewed in the past, you know, we've kind of added that leadership portion in this year, and then content of essays, and then the bonus points. And now we're going to kind of talk about each one of these categories that I've reviewed from your rubric a little more in detail. And also, please know, beyond the slides for this and this training, there is a more robust description for these in your guidelines. And the total this year is 110 points. So if you've scored before, you know we've kept it at 100, but we have gone up to 110. So thinking about the first page of the scoring rubric, the unweighted GPA, the question for that, the associated question, is just what you see here, the cumulative unweighted GPA high school. So cumulative unweighted GPA, that is language that is actually on the students' report cards, so they know where to capture that from. And then, of course, this is the range. So remember I said your students are filtered for only those that fit into your criteria. And I don't think you have any scholarships with a GPA under, I want to say 2.5, but I don't have it right in front of me. So if I'm correct about that, you would never have students who have a scorecard point of 0, 1, or 2. And so you just find where their GPA is and assign the corresponding points. Next one is the extracurricular activities. So here we're looking for, as I said, their activities and their leadership. There's a lot of questions that apply to this, and this is just the first slide of them. So you're going to be looking at which sports do you currently play on a team. And then there will be answers within that question. Then there's another question. If you answered other for team sports, please provide details. So that first question is a drop down, and it has just about every sport you would typically imagine, but of course there's always other things. So the first one collects their data in a drop down manner. The second one allows them to free text, and they can type in what their answers are. Then there's another one that says, have you participated in any of these extracurricular activities? and it has select all that apply and select other to enter additional activities that are not listed in the dropdown. So these were just that. They're extracurricular activities. They're the clubs, not just limited to sports. And then the corresponding next question is, if they have selected other extracurricular activities, please provide the details and spell out the names of the clubs and organizations. We clearly ask them not to use abbreviations. Knowing this, this again is that two-part question where the first one gives them a drop-down field and they can select certain answers, and the second one is for capturing anything that wasn't available in the drop-down. And then we have a free text question asking them to tell us about any leadership roles they've held, such as captain of a team or officer of a club. And then we ask them to include the name of the organization and their position. So things that you want to be looking at for scoring these questions is a range of a variety of extracurriculars. Are they geared towards just one thing, or are they doing several different items, categories, if you will? Is there a consistency of their effort and commitment? Are they showing initiative and any indication of specific involvement, participation, and results? Certainly looking for that demonstration of leadership ability. And I also want to say here that even though we have the questions that I showed you on the previous slide, there many times are students that for whatever reason did not select something in the drop down, did not explain it in the other field, but then it'll crop up in their essay. And I'm going to leave that to you as to how you want to score that. Certainly they're telling you, and certainly within the application, there may be elements and answers that show up in unexpected places. Another thing we added this year was an appendix of extracurricular activities and abbreviations. This is several pages long. It's at the end of your guidebook, and I would love it if you have any suggestions or anything that stumps you, if you would let me know, and we will try to include and build on this as we go forward. So I hope this is helpful this year. It also has links to some of the, typically it's the national level clubs, but it's a good way to get other information if you're curious and don't know. Sometimes they talk in their essays may reference things and it's hard to know what they're talking about. Next category, community service. So this is another one of those quantitative ones. It's a simple, straightforward question of how many total hours of community service have you completed while in high school? And then, of course, it has the corresponding table where you will find the number of hours in the first few columns. And then the last column to your right is the corresponding number of points that earns them. Back to qualitative content of essays. This is the most fun part, I think, and also the most rewarding and sometimes the most challenging. So Hillsborough Education Foundation asks all students 2 essays that are shown here. And you will see the answers to those. And then as you're working through your applications, the other essays will be tied to the specific scholarship that they qualified for. So within those review groups, if you remember the review groups where it had the name of your scholarship, and then you click in to see those students, each of those is a bucket of students that will have extra essays that are specific to those particular scholarships. So what are we looking for here? Well, obviously it's the most subjective. I do want you to know that there is a minimum of 3 reviewers per scholarship. So no one person's score is making or breaking the student's ability to get a scholarship. The three or more are then averaged, and the highest scoring students are the recipients. You're looking for things as far as structure, that their sentences are clear and varied, that they used appropriate language, and that the sentence structure is hopefully advanced. You want to make sure that they established a definite point and they answered the question fully. That's a big one for me. So I like to make sure that question is answered. Another thing to think about is occasionally we see a student that just copy and pasted the same essay in all of the fields. And again, I say that's up to you how you want to handle that. But typically they didn't answer the questions directly when they do that. Certainly looking to see that they told their story well with rich and engaging and pertinent details. We want stories that are interesting and compelling. Really hope that they revealed their character. That's the bottom line of what we're looking for. We want to know who these kids are. Again, I have that they didn't copy and paste. Most of the questions are 250 words. We do not expect you to count the words. Typically, 250 words is about a large paragraph. And do know that when we give the students the instructions, we do tell them this, they see a word counter. So they should be aware of their count as they were writing. We have added examples in the guidebook of some good quality essays that you can look at if you're looking for a little more guidance on that, just to kind of see what's a good one. And I suspect you'll know a not so good one when you see it. All right, and the next category is the bonus points. So these are yours to use at your discretion. You're the ones reading and synthesizing what you're reading and all the information from various different application questions. So we're giving you that discretion to assign extra points for things that you may see that may not be captured in the rest of the scoring rubric. So we're looking for things like, does the student have a lot of life challenges and stressors that maybe we want to give them a little points for overcoming and performing well? Scholarship preferences, you inherently know what those are for the Kiwanis Club. And then maybe they have some really outstanding achievement effort. So let's talk about some of that. So these are some examples of things that you may see that you may want to give some extra points for. Pregnancy, homelessness, exceptional displays of achievement effort. Are they in AP honor classes? Are they part of an IB program? Are they dual enrolled? We certainly have some that are the primary caregivers for siblings and other family members. Do they indicate that they're abuse survivors? And I'm going to pause here because occasionally you may find content where you may have a concern, a safety concern. And if that comes up, I just ask that you provide me with the student number, and we will certainly discuss that with the school and the student. It's happened in the past, and typically it's been past tense for those students, but do know that we will take action. And so just red flag that for me. We certainly have students that have incarcerated parents. And another thing that, I certainly think is a outstanding achievement is we've got some very successful students who are working a significant number of hours that go beyond the hours of the the chart that you're given. It tops off at 22.6 hours. So that may be another reason to give extra points. And then these are examples. And even as I'm speaking and have spent time preparing this slide presentation, it occurs to me that the example for the hours capping on those other slides and categories applies to the community service hours as well. Sometimes there's some students with a lot of community service hours that are going to exceed what you have on the scale. So this is your discretion. These are yours to use as you want, and Kiwanis certainly gives you a lot to function within. And I think this may be the last category, but it's the employment hours. This is a simple question. How many hours do you work weekly? And then we're simply going to check out the chart and enter in the number of hours. And you can see here, this is perfect for the last slide, that 22.6 or more only gets them 10 points. So if they're working 40 hours, they still can only get 10 points for that category. So you've got it available in the bonus points. And that is scoring. So here's some important dates for you. February 7th is when you can begin reviewing, and they need to be wrapped up by the 29th. And I have some quotes in here. And if you don't have a copy of the slides and you need a copy of the slides, by all means, this is the last slide, and it has my contact information. And I thank you. You truly do make a difference, and I look forward to working with you this year. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions along the way. Thank you.